This is a 70-year-old man goes on TV looking for a 20-year-old wife.
Senior dating is truly a show of its own. There was a 74-year-old man, completely out of touch with reality, who walked in and said it straight. He wants kids. Yes, you heard that right. At 74 years old, the guy wants a child. And here's the condition he laid out. If you can fulfill this wish of mine, then we'll get married. The old man is still a little greasy.
Wait, so he wants kids first and then marriage. So his priority is kids first, then marriage.
Sure, not too much. But let's be honest, that car wouldn't even pass its annual inspection anymore. And the woman on the other side, she's already over 50. How exactly is she supposed to give birth? Then the matchmaker tries to help, and that's when you realize the problem runs much deeper.
When
he confidently talks about women in their early 20s, you can already tell something is seriously off. Deep down, his thinking is simple. The younger, the better. He believes that if something is possible, then it should happen. And here's the absurd part. He even compares it to the country's technological advances. Rockets, satellites, spaceflight. As if technology could solve the fact that a 74-year-old man wants a 20-year-old woman to have children. He insists. He wants a child. No.
Yeah, of course. He wants a child. So, of course, he's going to end up doing that. Of course. Yeah, adoption, yeah. Adoption's always the case. But then again, if he wanted a child, he could have done it when he was in his prime. Why do it
no matter
at
what,
an old age?
Then comes the obvious question. Why didn't he do this when he was young, at the normal age to get married and have kids? The answer is clear. He waited too long. But hold on. Does he really want a child? Or does he want someone to take care of him in old age? When they ask whether it's out of love for children, their joy and innocence, it becomes obvious that it's not. His desire seems much more tied to having someone support him in the future. That's not loving children. That's thinking...
Well, then why not with the 50-year-old? Why doesn't he just go with the 50-year-old lady? Because he's going to die in like 5 to 10 years. She will have at least 20, 30 years on top of that. Why a 20-year-old?
Only about himself. He also talks about passing on the family name, keeping the bloodline alive. And he makes it clear that just any child won't do. It has to be a son. That part is downright absurd. Honestly, if that's the case, he'd be better off relying on himself. At this rate, he'll reincarnate soon and end up starting school alongside his own kid. And there's more. Raising a child takes money, energy, and health. Does he even have that? If the baby falls off the couch, can he catch them? In reality, he can barely make sure he doesn't fall over himself on the street. But his justification is always the same. The mother can take care of the child. A young woman would be strong enough to raise the kid, while he would just be there as the father. In other words, even if she finds him unattractive, even if she doesn't like him, she'd still be expected to give him a child. Now pay attention to the show's strategy, because this part is genius. First, they bring in a calmer woman who barely pushes back. The others stay quiet, holding in their frustration. Then they send in the more direct ones, the ones who say everything that's been bottled up. And here's what happens. One of the guests suggests something simple. Why don't you get a dog or a cat? He rejects it immediately. She then explains that she spent over 10 years alone, living only with animals, and that all she wants is someone who accepts her pets. And the old man? He's the type who spends his days playing chess on the sidewalk. He can't even keep up with the plaza dance groups. When a 52-year-old woman steps in, he isn't interested either. She asks him directly, is it because of my age, or because I can't have children? Let's recap. He's 74. She's 52. And yet, he still thinks she's too old. So they run the
I don't get it. I don't get it. Yeah, you can go ahead. It's insane. This kind of stuff makes absolutely no sense to me. Absolutely no sense to me. But again, apparently it's about the family name. It's not about getting... I don't know. I don't know. You can do all that stuff when you're younger. You can plan for your future when you're younger. You can have children when you're younger. But after a certain point, it is too late. It is too late. Like there's no going back once you've passed a certain point. I mean, that's how I've always felt.
Test. If she were 25 and wanted to raise animals instead of having kids, would you accept that? He says yes. The host sums it all up with one perfect word, mirage. And to complete the masterpiece, the man also has hearing problems, which, ironically, would solve the generation gap issue with a young wife. If he can't hear properly, he won't even notice the abyss. But wait, it's not over yet. In the end, another guest walks onto the stage and finally says what everyone has been thinking all along.
直接换一个上来直接开怼。
70岁还准备生孩子，太不切现实了。
几十年这个观点不容易改变。
人可以有梦想，但不能痴心妄想。
不敢说，他想好了。年龄和我想的吧，有点
大。
哎，对。
不是以我跟我说话呗。
大年龄就30左右吧，说20多岁。
他现在跟你说话的思维在想，你们跟我说话都是浪费我的时间。你们现在赶紧给我找一个20多岁，我要生孩子。
阿姨是这么惯着他啊，你还跟我不屑一顾上了，老样，我必须制裁你啊！
对吧？图你啥？图你好看，图你帅，图你模样不太好，个头不太好，年轻不？不行，帅不？秃头。说实在，那就图你钱了。你对象家你有什么房产、资产、车？
Yeah, I'm getting a bit of it.
And meanwhile, the old man keeps raising his demands.
The whole thing is absolutely a fantasy. Like that's the main point. He is living in a fantasy, wanting to have his again, it's like a reality TV show. None of it is actually real. It's there for the sitcom of it. I'm pretty sure he's paid handsomely on the side to speak all this nonsense just to make laughs, because I'm pretty sure he truly doesn't believe that. The only rational, real explanation, he's just paid to do it, of course. It's reality TV. All that stuff is all fake, all staged. It could still be enjoyable to watch, utter nonsense, but at the same time, just like sometimes there are people who actually believe this kind of stuff.
25 is no longer enough. Now she also has to have good conditions. The aunt finally loses her patience and says it straight. You must have some kind of problem. Go see a psychologist. He answers very seriously that he's already taken an IQ test. So yeah, even he has questioned himself. Then he explains that he took the test, it came back normal, and he couldn't understand. My IQ is normal, so why doesn't anyone want to be with me? In his mind, it's simple. If I'm fine, then everyone else must be the problem. But wait, because besides this man who's completely out of touch with reality, here comes the bragging aunt. She loves to show off, but it's that low ceiling kind of flex. She has no idea how truly wealthy people actually spend money. While everyone else talks about saving, she makes a point of exaggerating. She says she has high spending habits, that the other person's salary can't keep up. She claims she goes to the market in the morning and already spends 100, leaving only loose change, not enough to buy anything else. Her brain starts racing. How do I make myself look like a high-end consumer? The answer is simple: waste. She says she throws away fruit and vegetables, sometimes even good food. She buys without...
Yes, a way to prove that you have a high income. Throwing everything away. I mean, then there's like the high-end products. I mean, someone who's actually frugal, and, well, again, it's not about being frugal. It's about just having a lavish lifestyle. So, yeah, it would primarily be waste. It would be wearing the name brand clothes. It would be wearing like instead of having just a funny t-shirt because that's unimportant. But no, it's about the name brand. It's about having everything that's absolutely recognizable.
Thinking and lets things rot. She's been renting for months and barely cooks. Almost every meal is eaten out. So I ask, so you still throw food away? She confirms. I almost choke. Good thing I didn't ask what she orders at restaurants. She can barely name anything more expensive than sweet and sour pork. Then I go straight to the point. How much do you spend per month? She answers proudly. About 5,000. But her pension is only 3,000. So where does the extra money come from? The sky? She laughs and explains. Early consumption, credit cards, loans. She also says she has savings. I ask what the most expensive piece of clothing she bought was. A few thousand. So basically, most of her money goes into clothes. She then turns to the other woman and says that wearing old clothes sets a bad example for future children. I ask for the brand name, and she answers in total confusion, as if it was some luxury label. But it doesn't stop there. Besides spending a lot, she also demands that her partner be ambitious. She says she needs a man focused on his career. Important detail, the old man is 74, and yet she still wants him to go conquer the world. She starts throwing out motivational seminar lines: have dreams, don't give up, ride the waves, go out and fight for life. The old man looks at me, half defeated, and says, these days I'm only good for saying welcome to the condominium, and they still complain my voice isn't loud enough. Then he sighs. I'm already 74, you're almost 70, and you still want me to go work. She replies, but I have high spending habits. I say, didn't you just say you only spend 5,000? He makes almost 4,000. So what's missing? In practice, adding both incomes together already comes close to 10,000. The old man then comments that in their city, even spending without limits, one person hardly goes over 2,000 per month. But he says this woman somehow manages to handle that level of spending. In the end, he just goes along with her narrative to avoid conflict. Emotional intelligence at its peak. And everything I've shown you here is just a small sample of what goes on behind the scenes with these aunties. You have no idea how intense it really gets. If you'd like, in the next episode one can also show you the backstage drama with the men, and I'll tell you right now, they don't fall behind at all. So that's it.
Oh my freaking gosh, so they're just all mentally ill. They're all absolutely mentally deranged.
What caught my attention the most in this whole story wasn't even the fact that a 74-year-old man still wants to have children. That alone is already curious. But what's really funny, and at the same time ironic, is seeing an older man using the exact same arguments that older women usually use. The logic is identical. I still can, I still deserve it, I still have the right to choose. Only this time, when it's a man in that position, the reaction completely changes. And let's be honest here, I don't think this man can't have children just because of his age. Biologically,
No, men, no matter how old they get, can always continuously have children. That's just how it works.
he might even be able to. That's not the main issue. The real problem is that, in the real world, older men only manage to attract much younger women for one very specific reason. Money. A lot of money. Enough money to support 2 generations at the same time. And that's something he clearly doesn't have. Without that main bargaining chip, all that's left is empty talk, desire, and fantasy. And that's exactly what we saw. An elderly man full of demands, talking about women in their early 20s, while offering practically nothing in return. If he had unlimited money, maybe it would work, but that's not the case. And that's where the most interesting part of the episode comes in. The reaction of the women. They become outraged, furious, deeply uncomfortable. Suddenly, that one...
Because it's an old man fantasizing about younger women. Of course they would be deeply uncomfortable. There's always kind of like a double standard to those kinds of things. But at the same time, no matter what, it's
Way
disgusting.
of thinking, which has always been socially tolerated when directed the other way, becomes absurd, selfish, and disconnected from reality. Only now, the target is a man. Meanwhile, many of these women passed their fertile years a long time ago. They no longer have that biological option. He still does. Small, distant, but still possible. And that hits a nerve. It's not just anger. It's frustration. It's comparison.
Yeah, because he can still actively have children. That's, I think, the real trigger is like, even though he's 42 or 72, sorry, even though he's 72 and he wants to start a family, he technically still has the ability to start a family. Most of the women there in their, well, when they normally hit their 40s, are already hitting that time where it's either too risky or they already can no longer have children. So it would hit a nerve with the women who are like, well, we can't do this if we wanted to.
It's realizing that time has moved on. They're not only angry at him, they're fighting the clock. Because deep down, this man doesn't just represent a stubborn old guy who wants a child. He represents a last chance they no longer have. And that hurts. That's why the reactions are so emotional. That's why the attacks are so direct. That's why the judgment comes so hard.
And that's
But let's
why
tell
they
the
get
truth.
so angry.
Both sides are living in illusions. The man lives under the illusion that he can still choose like he's 40. The women live under the illusion that they're still competing in the same dating market as before. The reality is that the game has changed for everyone. Age arrives, bodies change, options shrink, and the dating market becomes increasingly cruel. In the end, no one there is really talking about love. They're talking about exchange, about advantages, about emotional survival. He wants youth and genetic continuity, they want security and validation. But neither side wants to face their own limitations. And maybe that's exactly why this kind of show is so popular, because it exposes what everyone thinks, but few have the courage to say out loud. Aging isn't easy. Accepting it is even harder.
Oh my
But
gosh.
denying reality doesn't stop time. It only makes everything more uncomfortable.
Yeah. Getting old sucks. That's basically the moral of every story. Getting old sucks. Yeah, there's always like the double standards to everything. I can understand the frustration when you look at it from that perspective. It's just like, yeah, here's an old man who wants to continue to have a family. He still has the option to. He still has the capability to. But when it comes to the women, if they wanted to do that past their 50s, well, it's biologically impossible. I mean, right? It is biologically impossible after a certain point. Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy.
You guys got a video? So bad.
And don't forget to like and subscribe.
Wait on that.